Hey kids, we are going to read our Bible story. I know we haven't read one in a while. The last story we read was A Princess Finds a Baby, and that began the story of Moses. So now we're going to continue on with Moses, an Egyptian prince. And before we start with that, I want to show you guys this card I got in the mail. It says they offer life-changing youth Bible studies and free Bible studies. Great for homeschool, youth groups, and personal studies. And it's got a Bible verse, "Let no man despise your youth, but be an example of the believers, in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity." That's 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. And the website is, and they also have jewelry and other things as well that you can buy if you want to buy something. And the website is www.christianteenshop.com. I will put the link in the description and link down below this video. I sent it to my niece as well, so I'm going to check it out later myself as well. Alright, we start off with a Bible verse tonight. Exodus, which is the second book of the Bible, chapter 2, verse 14. "Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killedst the Egyptian?" That's a Hebrew slave asking Moses that question. Because you'll see Moses kill somebody in tonight's story. Let's begin. Although Moses was reared as an Egyptian prince and a grandson of the Pharaoh himself, his mother served as his nurse and taught him that he was really an Israelite, not an Egyptian. She taught him the Hebrew language that she spoke, and she told him the stories of his people. He heard about the early fathers of his nation, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Jacob's 12 sons, and he learned of the new, one true God who they had worshipped. Moses' mother told him that someday their God was going to lead them away from Egypt and back to the land that he had promised them, a land where they would be free. Meanwhile, the princess saw that Moses was treated just as any royal son would have been. He lived in the palace, wore splendid robes, and studied with special teachers until he grew to be a man. This was the only life that he knew. But when he was old enough to leave the palace, Moses began to learn of the way of his people were being treated by the Egyptians, because they treated them very badly. They was always beating them. As he visited the cities and fields where they were working under the whips of Pharaoh's officers, he saw that there was hardly any better than the oxen and cattle Pharaoh owned. In fact, they were treated like animals. You'll see here Moses killing an Egyptian. See the picture. One day Moses saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. He got very angry at the unfair way this fellow Hebrew was treated, and before he really thought, he killed the Egyptian. Seeing no one around, he hid the body in the sand. The next day, Moses saw two Hebrews fighting with each other, and he stepped into to stop the fight. The guilty man looked at him angrily and said, Who made you our ruler and judge? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday?" Moses was stunned at these words. The news of his murder was known. The Israelites did not understand that he was only trying to help them. They thought he was someone from the palace who they could not trust, and Pharaoh, he would hear the news soon. He would have Moses put to death when he heard of it. So Moses fled from Egypt across the desert to the east. He hurried to hide in the wilderness of the land of Midian. The family he had grown up with in the palace would turn against him now because he had killed one of their people, the Egyptian. But the Hebrew people did not know if Moses stood with them either, for they knew him as a royal prince, one like Pharaoh's own sons. Now he had no one to turn to but God. His mother had taught him to worship long ago when she was his nurse. So Moses turned to God. And that's that story. And our next story is Moses, when he's talking to God, he sees a bush catch on fire, the burning bush, and God speaks to Moses through the burning bush. That'll be our next story. So we'll see what happens to Moses when we begin our next story. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I will put the link in the description below for that website I was telling you about. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. Bye guys. God bless.